There are some pretty extraordinary things happening in the global economy at the moment, folks, but one of the most extraordinary is something we haven't seen in around 20 years, and that is the fact that the euro has just dropped below parity with the US dollar, and this is something that hasn't been seen since 2002, when the euro itself was just a few years old. Now, obviously, Europe is facing a lot of the same problems that all other economies are facing, things like the fallout from COVID-19, supply chain issues, and, of course, rising inflation. But Europe, of course, also has the war in Ukraine happening on its doorstep, and this is serving to push energy prices absolutely through the roof. Now, these higher energy prices are going to have an absolutely dire effect, not only on individuals and households, but also on businesses as well. And there's even talk of rationing energy in some European economies, which is kind of unprecedented, really. So it's this particularly grim economic situation which is working against the euro, but also the actions of the European Central Bank, or ECB, haven't particularly helped. Because while many central banks have followed the lead of the US Federal Reserve and aggressively raised interest rates in order to combat runaway inflation, the ECB has been very slow out of the gates, second only to the Japanese central bank. Now, believe it or not, interest rates in the Eurozone were actually negative until fairly recently and are only now sitting at 0%. And this has to do with fears around indebted countries in southern Europe defaulting on their debts if interest rates were pushed too high by the ECB. But of course, by not raising interest rates aggressively enough, the ECB is now struggling to tackle inflation. And this is yet another reason why the euro has fallen to almost unprecedented lows against the US dollar and is predicted by many analysts to fall even lower, with some saying it could fall as low as 97 US cents, something we haven't seen for many, many years.